The first ring was so ordinary that Claire barely noticed it, lost in the soft hum of her kitchen as she rinsed the last plate under warm water. But when she glanced at the phone lying face down on the counter, the second ring sounded different, sharper, like a voice cutting through the silence with intent. She wiped her hands on a towel and flipped the phone over. For a moment her mind froze. The caller ID didn't show a stranger's number or some unknown spam call. It showed her own number, her exact number, her name flashing in bright white against the black screen as if her phone was calling itself. Claire stared, a strange hollow feeling spreading through her chest. The device rang a third time, vibrating against the countertop with a rhythm that felt almost impatient. Her first thought was that it had to be some kind of glitch, a spoofed call maybe, something technical and harmless, but the longer she stared at the screen, the more wrong it felt. She lifted it slowly, her thumb hovering over the answer button. Curiosity wrestled with dread in her mind like two dark shadows circling each other. And then, before she could think of any reason to stop herself, she slid her finger across the glass and pressed the phone to her ear. "Hello?" Her voice sounded small in the quiet room. For a few seconds there was nothing but a low crackling noise, like the faint hiss of old static from a forgotten television set. She frowned, thinking maybe the connection was broken, but then a voice came through. Her voice. Claire. It was her own voice, identical in tone, in warmth, in every trembling syllable. But it was softer, strained, like someone whispering through tears. Claire froze, the hand holding the phone starting to tremble. "Who is this?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. The voice on the other end laughed, a quiet, broken laugh that sounded like it was coming from the walls themselves. "You know who I am," it whispered. Claire's breath caught in her throat. The sound wasn't just similar, it was exact, down to the subtle rasp she got whenever she was exhausted. It was her own voice, speaking with a strange weight behind every word. Claire's instincts screamed at her to hang up, to throw the phone and run, but she couldn't move. Her legs felt like stone. "This isn't funny," she said, her voice cracking despite her effort to stay calm. "What do you want?" There was a pause on the line, a silence so deep it seemed to hum in her ears, and then the voice answered, low and trembling. "I want you to listen." Claire opened her mouth to speak, but the voice spoke over her, louder now, almost desperate. "Don't go to the mirror." Claire blinked, confused. "What?" The voice repeated, harsher this time, her own voice echoing like a warning carved into the air. "Don't look in the mirror, Claire." The line went dead. A sharp click and then silence. Claire pulled the phone away from her ear, staring at the dark screen, her reflection faint in the glass. Her pulse thudded painfully in her chest, and she realized her kitchen felt colder now. The warmth from before drained from the room like someone had opened a door to winter. She stood there for what felt like a long time, phone clutched tight, staring at nothing. The warning rang in her head over and over. "Don't look in the mirror." She tried to laugh it off, tried to tell herself it was a sick prank, maybe some twisted hacker trick, but deep down, something primal whispered that this was no joke. She shook her head, forcing a nervous smile, and set the phone back on the counter. Then she realized she needed to go to the bathroom. And in the bathroom was a mirror. The thought slid into her mind like a blade, sharp and cold, and for the first time she noticed how quiet the house was. Too quiet. No distant hum of traffic, no creak of settling wood, just silence pressing in from all sides. She walked slowly down the hallway, the hardwood floor groaning under her bare feet, and stopped outside the bathroom door. Her hand hovered over the knob, trembling slightly. She could just turn around, go back, forget this. But her curiosity, that dark, gnawing thing, urged her forward. She turned the knob and stepped inside. The bathroom was dim, lit only by the soft glow of a nightlight near the floor. Her reflection waited in the mirror above the sink, half-shadowed, barely visible in the low light. Claire's chest tightened. The warning screamed in her head again. "Don't look in the mirror." She stood frozen, staring at the shape in the glass. It was her, of course. Same brown hair pulled back, same pale skin, same tired eyes. But something felt wrong. It wasn't moving quite right. She tilted her head slowly to the left, and her reflection tilted too, but there was a delay, a fraction of a second, like the glass was thinking before it moved. Her breath hitched, fogging the cold surface slightly. Her reflection smiled. She didn't. The smile spread slowly across its face, wide and strained, too many teeth showing, eyes glinting in the faint light. Claire stumbled back with a strangled gasp, her shoulder hitting the doorframe. The reflection didn't stop smiling. It raised a hand and pressed its palm against the glass, long fingers splayed, skin pale and thin like wet paper. Claire's phone buzzed in her hand suddenly, the vibration sharp and startling in the heavy silence. She looked down. The screen was black, but the phone kept buzzing over and over, like something trapped inside was trying to get out. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. She wanted to run, but her body refused to obey. Her eyes locked on the mirror as her reflection's grin grew impossibly wide, stretching until the skin around its mouth began to tear. A deep, wet sound filled the air like fabric ripping underwater. And then the buzzing stopped. Silence again. Claire's breath came in short, shallow gasps. The reflection lowered its hand slowly, its torn mouth dripping something dark, and leaned forward until its face nearly pressed against the glass. Her eyes were black now, endless and hollow, swallowing the faint light whole. The voice returned, not through the phone this time, but from everywhere, from inside the walls, from inside her own head, whispering in perfect unison with the thing in the mirror. "You shouldn't have looked." Claire screamed then, a raw, broken sound that barely left her throat before the glass cracked down the center with a sharp, splintering snap. A thin line split her reflection in two, and from that crack came a hand, pale and long-fingered, pushing through the surface like water, reaching for her with nails as black as tar. She turned to run, finally breaking free of whatever held her, but the bathroom door slammed shut on its own, the sound like a gunshot in the tight space. The handle twisted violently, the metal groaning as if under something's grip, and Claire knew then that the voice was right. She shouldn't have looked. Claire's fingers clawed at the handle, slick with sweat, her breath coming in frantic sobs as she twisted and yanked, but it refused to budge. Behind her, the crack in the mirror widened with a horrible grinding sound like bones snapping, shards falling into the sink in glittering splinters that bled black liquid instead of water. The pale hand pushed further through, its skin stretching and splitting as if the mirror were tearing it apart on the way out, but it didn't stop. Another hand followed, long and skeletal, and then a face emerged, pressing against the glass like something desperate to escape. It was her face, or almost her face, but wrong, stretched too thin. The features warped as if melted and then frozen mid-scream. Its eyes empty black holes leaking thick trails of darkness that slithered down the shards. Claire backed into the corner, her heels striking the baseboard hard enough to send pain shooting up her leg, but she didn't even notice. Her eyes locked on the thing crawling free of the mirror. It moved in jerks, like a broken marionette, its limbs bending the wrong way as it dragged itself onto the counter, shards of glass crunching under its palms. The grin on its torn mouth never faded, even as its jaw cracked open wider than any human mouth should. Skin splitting further, dark strings of something wet stretching and snapping as it let out a sound that wasn't a scream, wasn't a laugh, but something in between, high and hollow, echoing off the bathroom tiles until it seemed to come from inside her own head. Claire dropped to her knees, scrambling toward the door again, pounding on it with both fists. "Help, please," she screamed, though she knew no one would hear her. The house was empty, no neighbors close enough to listen. And even if they could, some part of her whispered that sound wasn't leaving this room. The light flickered once, twice, then died, plunging everything into darkness except for the faint, sick glow from the cracked mirror. Claire froze as she felt the air shift, heavy and cold, pressing down on her chest like invisible hands. Behind her, something wet hit the floor with a dull splat. She didn't want to look. God, she didn't want to look. But then a voice spoke inches from her ear, warm breath grazing her skin, and every muscle in her body turned to ice. "I told you not to look." Slowly, Shaking so hard her teeth chattered, Claire turned her head. Nothing was there. Just darkness and the faint shimmer of the mirror behind her. Then fingers slid into her hair from above, curling gently, almost tender, before yanking her head back so hard she cried out in pain. She glimpsed it then. The thing crouched on the ceiling, knees bent wrong, head hanging upside down as it stared at her with that empty grin. Its black eyes swallowed her whole as it whispered again, soft and sweet, her own voice echoing back at her. "Now I get to come home." Claire kicked and thrashed, nails scraping the slick tiles, but the thing dropped from the ceiling with a sound like meat hitting the floor, landing on all fours, too fast, too graceful for something so broken. It crawled toward her, its movements insect-like, its limbs bending in sick angles as the grin on its face split wider, tearing almost to its ears. Claire pushed herself into the corner, sobbing, her hands fumbling for anything. A towel, a bar of soap, something to throw. But when her fingers brushed cold metal, she realized the phone had fallen from her grip. She snatched it up, the screen lighting her tear-streaked face as she hit the call icon. Any number, anyone, but the screen didn't show numbers anymore. Just a single word in bold white letters. Answer. Her trembling thumb hovered over it. The thing stopped crawling, tilting its head in a sharp, bird-like motion, its grin twitching as the air filled with static, loud and suffocating. Claire pressed answer without thinking, and the call connected instantly. A voice came through the phone, faint but clear, cutting through the static. Her own voice again, but calm this time, soothing like a mother comforting a child. "Stop fighting," it murmured. Claire whimpered, shaking her head, clutching the phone like a lifeline. "Please let me go," she whispered. The voice chuckled, soft and cold. "You're already gone." The bathroom door creaked open slowly behind her, though she hadn't touched it. Beyond it, there was no hallway anymore. Just blackness, endless and thick like tar, pulsing as if alive. Claire stared, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps, and then the thing lunged. She screamed as it slammed into her, teeth sinking into the side of her face with a wet crunch. The phone slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor, the word answer flashing once more before the screen went dark. When the house fell silent again, the bathroom was empty. The cracked mirror gleamed faintly, its surface rippling like water before going still, reflecting only the nightlight's glow. Then slowly, the glass cleared and Claire's face appeared, calm and smiling, her eyes black and endless. Somewhere far away, a phone started to ring.